setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Mike Lodge. Glad you're with me. Weather's nice here in Palm Beach. Beautiful blue skies. But I see clouds come rolling in, so that's going to change. So what is our conversation going to be about today? Well, I'm going to tell you how I feel, okay? I feel as though I have been duped. I feel as though politically, I have been duped. I feel that the government and all the local states, all the states I should say, have really duped us, have really put us into a situation where we as Americans have got to pull ourselves out of it. These governors who have locked people down because of Corona, and now the media is coming out with virus is building steam again, which I do not believe. And we have these Democratic governors who allow people to trash the streets, go in multi-thousands of individuals right beside each other, yelling at each other. And then the governor and the local mayors and listen, I have to call it as it is because this is happening in Democratic states, happening in Democratic cities. It's not happening in any other, it's not happening in Republican places. It's happening in these places that are run by and managed by and corrupted by Democrats at the moment. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. So over the weekend we had quite a few demonstrations going on. Everybody walking beside each other. Transgender had a big old rally. Thousands and thousands of them. And then this morning all of a sudden everybody on the media and local states are saying, well, we may have to shut down again. I'm telling you, I'm not shutting down. I'm not shutting down for anything. I'm going to continue on. I'm going to ignore them. Because I don't believe them anymore. I'm at a point where we've heard this over and over, wear these masks, don't touch, be 6 feet apart, and the list goes on and on. But then, we see thousands of people out on the street, yelling and screaming, tearing down stuff. And the Democratic mayors and the state governors say, "Oh, that's okay." They have to express. They have the constitutional right to go out there and protest. Cuomo was kind of stupid though because he makes the statement. Well, who in the world said that they couldn't be violent and go out there and protest loudly? Well. And then there's that one video that's out there that's going rampant at the moment where it says, it's in the Constitution. All you have to do is read it. We have been duped, America. We have been duped. And the reason why this is so heavily going on right now is because this is an election year. And Democrats want to destroy the president. I am sorry. That's all that I see is happening. You have these anarchists who are not only marching and protesting, but we have our anarchists who are in Congress. They're in the Senate. And these are the guys who say nothing. Now, we all know, if you look at Black Lives Matter webpage, they have two things that we need to pay very close attention to. One of them is their mission statement, where they say they're going to go out and help the black community. That's their mission, which they haven't done, by the way. The other thing is, if you look at who they are, how they are spending their money, it's going to Democratic congressional districts and people running in the Senate. So to me, I feel as though the black community has been duped by the Democratic Party because they're not getting any benefits out of this. The only one that's giving them benefits is coming out of Washington, D.C., out of the president's office. But these Democrats are digging in, and they are spinning, and they are stirring, and they are creating a pot of racism that is destroying. You have to remember, there are people who make a lot of money in promoting racism. A lot of people who do that. Okay, that's how they get the donations flowing in. They make money off of selling books, doing television appearances, doing speeches, all based off the narrative of racism. But you and I, we have been duped. We have been duped. And the black America, they have been duped also. I did a vlog this morning, and I asked the question of the black community leaders. Is Black Lives Matter, do they really believe in that Black Lives Matter? Because if you look at the attacks over the weekend on that Wendy's that was burned down, that was a black-owned business. So obviously Black Lives doesn't matter. Even though that they were protesting and burning that building in the name of Black Lives Matter as they destroyed a black business. Same thing in Minneapolis, same thing in New York, same thing all over the place in Seattle. Black Lives Matter has become a message of nonsense, basically, because it's been taken over by the political wing of the Democratic Party. Black lives should matter. White lives should matter. Every life in this United States and in this world should matter. But we also have to be common sense approach about this, because the data supports something totally different. It tells a totally different story. So we have been stomped on, we have been pushed on, we have been forced to say Black Lives Matter. But in actuality, we're not seeing that happen within the black community itself. Black on black violence is done in Chicago, in every other city that's democratically owned. So we don't see really that the message of Black Lives Matter is not being practiced in the black community. And that's where we have a problem. Because what has happened is that politicians have now taken hold of you guys yelling Black Lives Matter. And the politicians are the one that is willing to use you to get their power back. If you think that the politician actually believes in Black Lives Matter, even if they're black themselves, forget about it. It's all about the power that they need to have in Congress. You will only hear about Black Lives Matter during this election cycle that we're going through at the moment. But will anything happen? No. Nothing from government is going to help black lives. It's not going to happen. In fact, it's done so much damage for the black community that it's going to be very difficult for them to pull themselves out of what has happened under this Black Lives movement. So the only way that you can build something positive and something with a really solid foundation is that Don't go to the politicians. You have to take responsibility of this yourself. You have to ask yourself, what are the issues that are really important in my community? Is your education system really working? Is the policing really working? Are you having an open conversation with the police departments on a consistent basis? Now remember, if you want change, you have to be consistent about it. If you want to make your community solid, you've got to be consistent in working on the issues that need change. Now, those Democratic cities who are yelling for defunding the police, remember, it's all only in Democratic cities. It's not in Republican cities. It's only in Democratic cities. So they're using the Black Lives Matter to force the narrative of defund the police. This truly is going to create havoc within our cities and our communities. And it's going to affect the black community. That's not going to help it. It's going to make it worse. We really have a problem here right now. We have been taken over by a far, far left Democratic Party that is trying to do damage to the black community. And then after the election in November, bye-bye. We'll see you next 4 years. Listen, you in the black community, I tell you, you're in my heart, you're in my prayers. And what I'm seeing is that the community has been hoodwinked by the Democratic Party. You've got an issue where that they're taking an injustice and turning it into politics. And in between that, nothing gets done. Nothing gets resolved. It's up to you as a black community to sit down with your leaders, your pastors. Find out what's happening in your neighborhood. Find out exactly what you need to do to make it a better neighborhood. What people are going hungry in your neighborhood? What children need school clothing or supplies? What school children need some tutoring? If you have a gift for math and reading, sit down and tutor those individuals. There are some people, families in Hispanic neighborhoods, where the parents cannot speak or read English. So those kids cannot go home and get some homework help from their parents because of the language issues. But you can help them. You can help them with their arithmetic or their reading or their social studies or their history, whatever it may be. You can help them. You have the experience level to do it. If you think that your policing isn't as strong as it should be, sit down with the police departments. Know what police are in your neighborhood. Who is assigned to you and get to know them. There's so much that can be done locally. It's when it gets to the national level where the politicians get involved, that's when it all goes to hell in a handbasket. Nothing gets done. We have been hoodwinked into thinking that this is a racial issue. It's not. It's a political racial issue. We're not talking about real racism. No. We're talking about what the politicians want to talk about. They're talking about just the word racism so that it helps them politically. Because they sound as if they really do care. But they don't. They don't do anything. So we sit here and we see protests and we see destruction, we see all this stuff, all in the name of politics, but not really in the full conversation, in the real conversation, in the in-depth conversation about racism. We're not seeing it, we're not hearing it, we're not feeling it. So it's up to us. Because government has failed us every single bloody time. If you don't start getting involved in your communities, then we're never going to see change. We're always going to be using this racism card as a political maneuver. We need to become more community organized, community focused. Not on politics, forget about politics, but on what actually needs to happen within our neighborhoods and communities, our schools, our churches. Church leaders need to step up and talk more about how important it is to have a family that are united together. We need to have more spiritual conversations about family and about community. Remember, we are teaching younger people on what is expected of them as leaders in their community when they grow up. Politics is full of it. Politics is never going to solve a problem. But politics does create a problem, a big-time problem. And you and I are having to face it for the last 4 years. Over the last 4 years, as politics has not worked out very well for the American people. We've seen nothing but hate coming from Congress, nothing but hate coming from the Senate, nothing but hate coming from the governors and the mayors of Democratic constituents. We have a problem. But, you know what? Everything has a resolution. Everything can be resolved. But it starts with you and it starts with me. It doesn't start with our senator. It doesn't start with a member of Congress. It doesn't start with a city mayor or the governor. It starts with you and me, human being. Mom and dad, uncle, aunt, grandparent, brother, sister, church member to church member. If you start focusing on the community and on your families, this black on black crime will drop very quickly. But I'm telling you, there are people out there that want that narrative continuing on because they make money off of it. They get political power off of it. Take away their power. That's the only way that you can make any change is by taking away their power and taking that focus of energy and applying it to where you live. The neighborhood that you're in. The church that you're a member of. The family that you participate in. If you think government is the answer, you're wrong. You are the answer. To resolve racism, you are the answer. To resolve economic plight, you are the answer. So, what I'm basically saying is that we have been duped on this racial thing. And it's time that we turn the corner and we start working together on this. You got to start praying about it, talking about it, getting involved. Get up off that sofa and go out there and actually do something. We've been duped with coronavirus. We've been duped with this racial plight that politicians are pushing and the media is pushing. It's time that you and I take responsibility over our community, in our city, schools, church. It's our responsibility. And the only way that we can ever solve anything or make things better or to build something, that's where we should be focusing on, is what can we build to make our communities better. Let's not be duped anymore. I think we've been stupid Americans. Honestly, you and I, we've been stupid. We have been manipulated by the political train. It's time to stop that train and we start taking responsibility of our own communities. This is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you soon. If you have any questions, just send me a text at 818-252-5682. 818-252-5682. Let's talk it out. Send me a text.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.